Chad Simmons at On 3 here in Indiana, Andrean High School. 2023 linebacker Drayk Bowen. Drayk, fresh off, just cutting your list down to 5. You had, 30-plus offers, took a lot of trips, put a lot of time into your recruitment. You got to start your school year here in a couple weeks. Cutting things down to 5. Let's start there. I mean, you were at Auburn, Clemson, Indiana, LSU, Notre Dame.
Yes, sir.
Talk about that first. How did you get to this point to be somewhat, I think, pretty far advanced in your recruitment going into your junior year?
So really, before I even started this process, I really knew what I wanted from colleges and what I wanted to get from the coaches, like what I wanted the relationships to be like, the campus feel, kind of all that stuff. I already knew what I wanted going into it. So then we found a couple recruiting people to help us with it that had already gone through it or were going through it, and they really helped us. So kind of talking to them, knowing what I wanted, I'd per se I was already pretty advanced into it. It was just a matter of meeting the coaches, going to the colleges, and kind of all that stuff.
Yeah. How important was this summer to get to this point as far as, obviously June 1st, first day you guys could get back and, have face-to-face time with coaches on campuses and travel as recruits and really get out. You kind of missed all of last year for the most part from spring and into the season. So how valuable was this summer?
It was pretty impactful for me just knowing kind of what different campuses felt like, different coaches, how they felt talking to them, and kind of what the conversations were like with them. So it kind of opened my eyes to what coaches I liked, what coaches I didn't like as much, what campuses I didn't really feel were the best fit for me, even though I thought maybe I could go to college there, but the campus just didn't feel right, or the campus, everything felt right with the school, and then it was a school I didn't think I'd be going to at all.
You talk about the feel, obviously, the environment, the atmosphere, what it's like for you as a student athlete, walking around campus and being one of those guys that goes to school there. Is that something like when you get out of the car, you just kind of either feel it or you don't, or do you have like a criteria, you kind of checklist you go down as you're on that campus for that day? Take us through that, kind of how you really just come up with if you feel you can be there or not be there.
So the first thing I did always was kind of just how it felt as soon as I got there, kind of because we'd always pretty much drive through trying to find parking and stuff. So kind of it was just like when we got there, what did it feel like? And then when we meet the coaches, how did that feel and how that felt with going along with the campus. And then when we took the tours, it was like, can I imagine myself walking through the campus here and seeing all these people and meeting these people and going to class here and all this stuff.
How tough was it to figure out which coaches maybe you vibe with the best and maybe not top 5, maybe that next 6 through 10, coaches per se?
Some of them were pretty difficult because I really did like the coaches, and kind of it just clicked most of the time. And other times it was easier than it was harder because sometimes just the relationship clicked, and then other times it didn't. And so kind of going into the summer, I already knew what kind of coaches I clicked with, other ones I didn't really, and I just needed to work on those and see how it felt in person. So that's kind of what I did a lot.
I talked to your head coach, Coach Skinner, about you a little bit too, and he said you put a lot of time in, even before this summer, building those relationships, seeing who you click with, maybe who you didn't click as good with. How valuable or, as you said, impactful was that maybe leading up, all the Zoom calls, the phone calls, like you were talking about you driving to a baseball game or after workouts, talking to a coach in your car. How impactful were those calls and those Zoom calls to help you get prepared for those summer face-to-face visits?
It was pretty impactful just because I knew kind of how they already talked, what the conversations were like, and kind of what to talk about, because I'm more of a relationship person, and if I don't know a lot about you, I'm kind of going to stay quiet until I learn. So going into those, knowing already what they were like, what the coaches were like, their personalities, it was easier for me to open up, ask questions, talk about really anything that I wanted to or needed to.
Or relationships, was that a big part, of that top 5?
Yes.
Was that maybe number 1 on the list to help you get to that list?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, let's talk about the schools real quick. So you've been on each campus at different times, the majority except for Indiana this summer. Let's start with Auburn. Obviously, alphabetical order, we'll stay with that. So, what about Auburn? Put them in your top 5.
So I really hadn't known much about Auburn football, especially with the new staff. But going in, I had talked to Coach Schmedding a couple times before summer, and I really liked the conversations with them, and the relationship was really good. So me and my dad talked about, all right, we're going to go here, because we were already going to Alabama. So it was like, all right, let's go here. And then, getting to meet Coach Schmedding in person and Coach Harsin was awesome, because they let me in a team meeting where I got to see them coach and how they would coach, how I would be coached by them. So that was awesome. And then during that tournament, I actually got to call Auburn baseball, and they said they had no problem with two-sport, and I knew their baseball was already really good, already in the SEC, which is a tough division for baseball. So that was a big part of it, and also knowing, I love the campus. It felt great to be there. I like the people. I got to meet a couple students, players, so I really like the people there too.
Let's talk about Clemson. That's another two-sport school that's very good in baseball in the South, and obviously have won a couple of championships here recently under Dabo Swinney in football as well. But what about Clemson stood out to you?
Just pretty much the whole coaching staff and the players walking through their facilities. It was just the players and coaches it felt like a family. Like you could just feel it. And that all-in motto of theirs really stood out. Like everybody was all in on the Clemson Tigers, whether that was Coach Swinney to even just the janitors that helped out clean stuff. Like everybody was all in on everything, so you can just feel that. And then getting to talk with the baseball coach right away, our relationship was we just jived, and it was fun to talk to him. But Coach Venables, he's a great coach. He's been there at least 10 years, so he knows what he's doing. And their defense has been one of the top defenses in the country the past 2 years.
I think that's why he's paid the big bucks. I think the top assistant coach in the country as far as salary goes. Indiana, obviously, I was talking with your coach again. You have a couple guys that have played here, now playing at Indiana. What about the in-state program stands out?
I loved Coach. I got to meet him one time here actually, and I loved him. He great personality. I love what he's done with the program, especially last year. He's really turned it around there, playing Ohio State really close, going to bowl games, and then their baseball staff is pretty much brand new. Came in about I think 2 years ago. So getting to talk with them, Coach Mercer, Coach Simmons, the infield coach, and then one of the hitting coaches. They are all. I really like talking to them. Extremely like great relationships. So that's kind of what stood out to me. And then with their academics, it was the Kelley School of Business, which is one of the top business schools in the country. So that was pretty big importance to me.
You already like one Tigers. I guess Tigers, you're a guy. Lemson, Auburn, LSU. A lot of Tiger love for you, for sure. Going back to the SEC with LSU. People talk about Baton Rouge, the college town, the atmosphere, the environment. What drew you towards them?
So, honestly, I had no clue anything about LSU because I'd never grown up around LSU, Louisiana. None of that was around me at all. So when they offered, it kind of came out of nowhere for me. So they really talking with J.R. Belton. He's the guy that's mainly recruiting me, but we were down there in Alabama again and took the visit, and we didn't really know what to expect from there. And it was just kind of out of nowhere. We're like, all right, well, as soon as we got to campus, we loved it. The buildings, all the people, the food, and then getting to meet Coach O, Coach Belton, the linebackers coaches, and it was awesome. We loved every second of it.
Coming back home to Notre Dame, obviously another school not too far from you. I know a lot of people probably love that program up in this area. What about, you've been to South Bend how many times? Just once or?
2 times.
What about those visits and just the overall program, put them in your Final 5 or top 5?
So my relationship with Coach Freeman, it's been one of the top relationships that I've had with any coaches. But I feel like he's really changed a lot, especially on the defense side, because he recruited me differently than really anybody else has. He jumped on me early, and because he was actually jumped on me at Cincinnati, so he had already known about me. And then when he went to Notre Dame, he said he just looked at my sophomore film, and after that, he said we're going for him. But their baseball, football they have a history of doing both. with Samardzija, Golden Tate, and so they know how to do it. Under Coach Kelly has done a ton. So that, and then also their academics are top notch for anywhere in the country, world really.
Now, you mentioned academics, baseball, relationships, all those played key roles in getting you to this point. I know you mentioned you want to take visits for games. Is your plan to get to games at all 5 schools this fall? What's your plan kind of moving forward?
So I do plan on visiting all 5, and then once that's over, kind of more after fall, me and my family will talk more about it, but probably after that is when I'll be starting to get my commitment down.
Are you thinking like end of 2020, 2021, I should say, as far as making your decision?
I plan on doing it before senior year, so
Okay.
probably yes, sir.
And then I guess last question, what do you think will tell you? I mean, obviously this summer was very important. All the phone calls, Zoom calls, baseball, academics, relationships. What do you think will tell you which one is right? Like, what is it, a gut feeling? Is it, talking with those close to you, those one extra visit this fall? And what do you think will tell you I found my future home?
I feel like a lot of it will mainly be relationships, because academics and most of those places, sports aren't going to change. Well, there are a couple that could with Auburn, with the new coaching staff. So that's kind of one of the things that I wanted to see too this fall, was how new coaching staffs did. But mainly it's relationships, and then obviously one visit is kind of see the atmosphere on a Saturday, or visit one more time, see how the feel really is again.